Alright guys, Biomutant, an upcoming open-world apocalyptic RPG, is looking like a really good time, yet no one really talks about it. It's a game that uses a combination of impressive martial arts fighting with Souls-like bosses and a devastated world similar to Fallout. Luckily, if you've seen one of my more recent videos on the subject of video games in general, I talked about how I really wanted to show more indie games on the channel. There is so many indie games that deserve the attention, and in my opinion, Biomutant is definitely one of them. Ever since the first trailer for Biomutant debuted at Gamescom 2017, the funny-looking action RPG has been turning heads from a bit of people, creating a pretty stable community. But as you can see, the game still hasn't released after 3 years of announcement, and so of course the project lost a bit of hype. From looking at their Twitter, website and so on, I can say these developers do not care a bit about the publicity they have for Biomutant at the moment, which in some way is a really good thing. They are really focusing on the game at the moment with nothing else in mind, as well as releasing information once every 6 months. It's clearly been stated at the end of its newest gameplay video in June that Biomutant is coming when we are happy with it. I respect that. Take all the time you need to create an awesome adventure. Clocking in at just under 10 minutes, the new trailer really is full of colorful landscapes, colossal monsters to fight, weird characters, and a whole heap of crazy game mechanics that I find all interesting. The first thing that comes to mind when seeing the world of Biomutant, even more in its recent gameplay, is how just unique everything looks. This world is a different kind of beautiful, with green fields, colorful rainbows, and sprawling tree roots covering the landscape. It is clear as water the developers working on this game, called Experiment 101, spent a lot of time creating a world that defies what we know as open world, through its crazy mix of vibrant nature and sprawling fantasy landscapes. It really is a game that should be talked about more in my opinion. The developer Experiment 101 officially describes Biomutant as a post-apocalyptic kung fu fable RPG. That's a lot of things to take in, but it seems appropriate for the strange vibes that Biomutant puts off. It is essentially an action RPG with an ambitious mutation system that changes the genetic makeup of your custom cat hero over time, making it look much more stronger, for example. There's also a deep crafting system for making new weapons and armor, being able to mix certain weapons together when you find different scrap in the world, and also different armor pieces from whatever you find. The game has a different take on post-apocalyptic world like Fallout and so on. Instead of the classic natural disaster or nuke, Biomutant's world was destroyed by a massive oil flood that rose from the ground. As this oil plague in particular has infected the Tree of Life, you will now try to return vitality to the world, and it'll be your job to save it while uniting the world's tribes that have since been in conflict. The developers are really emphasizing that each choice made with every people you talk and every action made will have a huge impact on the story. For example, there are 6 tribes split from their original location. The player can choose to eliminate all those tribes or combine and unite the tribes, and that will of course change the course of the story. Now with characters creation, which is a massive part. You choose the gender, body shape and thickness, fangs, fur and fur pattern, length and other attributes of your character, and those choices affect stats for the character itself. For example, having a thicker and heavier character will make it more resistant to damage and be able to do more damage to enemies as well, but makes the character slower, while a lighter character will do the opposite by making it faster and increase its range but take more damage and do less damage to enemies. Adding a thicker and larger head will also increase the intellect of the character, making it have more energy and power for psychic abilities. Mutations and biomechanical body parts, which both are an ability and customization system, can be applied to your character after character creation to change their appearance and abilities. For example, adding mechanical wings or claws can give the character advantages. Biocontamination found in certain zones will also allow you to physically mutate your character using using bio points, for example giving mantis claws or barbed tails, and give additional abilities as well, which is really cool. The battle system is a mix of melee and ranged weapon combat. Said to be a martial arts style combat system, the combat is supposed to allow for eye movement and agility mixing with powers, shooting, and melee attack using the mutations. Multiple combat styles such as Wu-Fu, Kung Fu, and Chicken Fu can be learned through progression and being taught by masters all over this world. The new world, as they call it, is the main setting of Biomutant. There's also dangerous biomes like the Dead Zones, the Chugyard, and so on, but these are not the main places you'll go to. In the center of this new world is the Tree of Life, like I told earlier. Areas such as Arctic areas, deserts, and a matching underworld are in this new world. The temperature of this world will fluctuate over time and in different locations. Usually it is colder at night and hotter during the day, thus you will need to have the right equipment for these different temperatures. The environment will also change because of it. For example, water can freeze at cold temperatures and the snow season will arrive. As said, you can explore by foot, mech, jet ski, air balloon, or area unique mounts, which is either some monsters or vehicles. Explore the dying wildland, the tunnels and bunker networks of the underworld, and find your way up the mountains or out in the many secret places that have yet been uncovered. There are a lot of discoveries to be made, mysteries to unravel, creatures to confront, and weird characters to meet in this vibrant and colorful world. You are totally free when equipping your character, not only when it comes to choosing weapons you created, but what type of gear you wear. You can equip a gas mask and an oxygen tank for exploring the dead zones, thermos-resistant clothes for venturing into cryonic areas, or protective gear for taking on biocontaminated creatures. The choice is up to you. From traditional combat and extensive platforming sections to underwater showdowns and face-off with massive beasts, this is definitely going to be a really good game with a lot of things to do. When the time comes, it'll finally release and we'll all be able to play it, and I cannot wait. Biomutant was set to release sometimes in 2019, it's now 2020, but THQ Nordic hasn't made any mention yet of a release window. The developer Experiment 101 however recently updated fans on Twitter about the status of the game. They said, "We know many of you are wondering if the game is still in development. Let us assure you that we've never been working harder and more focused on it than now. They will reveal the release date as soon as everyone at the studio feels confident about hitting that date and that the game is ready for it. It is set to release on PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC, but with the next generation consoles at our doors, my bet is it can definitely be ported to PS5 and Xbox Series X, no doubt about it." Alright guys, make sure you drop a like on this video for more on upcoming games like these, and there's a lot, and also subscribe to stay tuned. Thanks to Rickno23, Themistocles, Pedro Oliveira, and Jiggly Boy for being a master member on the channel. You can become a Survivor member for 99 cents only. It'll support me and the channel as whole. Thanks for watching.